looking back, was there anything that you perhaps overlooked, didn't spend enough time following up on? And what do you make of this AutoPen investigation?
I think in every case of a presidency, there are things that aides will say afterwards that they don't say at the time. It's a permanent frustration, but I think it was especially true in this case, where there were, at the moment that Biden dropped out of the presidential race, there were aides who came forward and said, as I think everybody now agrees, that it was a disaster for him to run for that second term. I remember in my last interview with him in January of 2024, when I said, I came out of there thinking this man is gambling with his legacy, and if he bets wrong, then history will judge him harshly. And I think what it came down to in the end was a refusal on his part ultimately to be able to accept the portrait that the world had of him that was in such contrast to the portrait he had of himself. And he had spent his life basically telling himself that he could prevail over the doubts, and he overread that lesson, and in fact, he couldn't prevail over the doubts.
Is there any reason, though, for you to believe that while he was in office, because I think it's pretty much acceptable that he probably was not in good physical or mental shape for perhaps another term, but while he was in office, because this is where this investigation is focused on, that there were times when he wasn't of sound mind and yet was using this AutoPen to sign certain proclamations or make executive decisions?
Well, it's fair to say an AutoPen has been a part of the presidency for a very long time. Donald Trump's administration uses it. Joe Biden's administration uses it. Obama did, and so on. It's a valid question to find out were there, in fact, any instances in which it was being used improperly. But as you indicated earlier, there is so far nothing been offered or presented by the Trump administration that suggests that there was. Look, I think this is part of this broader question of what was Biden doing and not doing in the final months of his presidency. Mm-hmm. What you've heard his aides say is, look, we were shocked to see him on the debate stage in the condition he was in June. And I'll tell you, as I said on that night, I was shocked to see him in that condition too. He was not the same person that he had been elected a few years earlier. And I think ultimately the American voters made that clear, and that's why he was forced out of the race.
Let's turn to the other big headline this week, and I think that what we've seen unfold today, just what appears to be a public breakup between President Trump and Elon Musk over his signature tax and spending bill. President Trump had this to say following, I think, repeated now multiple days where Elon Musk has publicly taken to X and trashed this bill. Here's how the president responded when asked.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill.
Now, Elon Musk had been brought into the White House famously to cut fraud, waste, and abuse, and had prioritized what he viewed as wasteful spending and even set a goal of cutting $1 to $2 trillion from the federal budget. When you look then at the figures from the Congressional Budget Office about what this bill will do, it will increase deficits by $2.4 trillion over the next 10 years, cut taxes by $3.7 trillion over the next decade, and reduce spending by $1.3 trillion over that same period of time, largely through cuts to health care and food stamps. Now, those who are defending the president and are outraged by Elon Musk's behavior say that it's all coming from a place of personal greed and priorities, and that it's because he took away the EV mandate. But what do you think about this public blow-up, and what does it say that the world's richest man is worried about U.S. deficits?
You know, we are living in unprecedented times, Bianna, and I don't mean that in a funny or abstract way. I mean, it is literally true that the world's richest man has never had an office in the White House complex or control over a department of government with the kind of control that Elon Musk had. Even at the heyday of large fortunes in American history, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. And in a sense, the inevitable, perhaps, breakdown in this relationship was born of the fact that these are two men who have lived much of their adult lives now in total control of the world around them, able to prune the information they get, the agreement and disagreement they get. They're very accustomed, frankly, to being surrounded by people who tell them that they're right all the time. And all of a sudden, Elon Musk found himself in the position of being in Washington, where you're subject to the constant scrutiny and inspection by the American public. And I don't think ultimately that the public liked what it saw. You saw a 71% drop in Tesla's profits, and out he went. I think in this case, this is probably going to be a conflict that carries on, because neither one of them has much of an influence, at this point, has much of an instinct to repair it. I think in Musk's case, he seems to have decided that part of his own image rehabilitation involves putting some distance between himself and the president.